Brought to you by...
You know, as much as I personally love Lovecraftian and cosmic horror, I honestly have an issue with many of the adaptations that have been created from Lovecraft's work. Barring a few standout examples like Reanimator and From Beyond, there is always a look, feel, and vibe to them that just doesn't sit well. They often feel cheesy or amateur to some degree, this one being no better. Hello friends, and welcome back to ETF. This is an H.P. Lovecraft adaptation that wastes little to no time diving into the more sexually explicit thematic elements of the narrative. The film follows psychiatrist Dr. Elizabeth Derby, played by Heather Graham, as she becomes entangled with a troubled young patient, Asa Waite, played by Judah Lewis. Asa's condition initially appears to be a dissociative identity disorder, but is revealed to involve a horrifying supernatural element, body possession by an ancient malevolent entity. As Elizabeth delves deeper, her professional boundaries blur, and her life unravels as she becomes a vessel in the entity's sinister plans.
Well, we're about to find out.
Suitable Flesh was a 2023 horror film directed by Joe Lynch, adapting H.P. Lovecraft's short story, The Thing on the Doorstep. The narrative centers around Elizabeth's obsession with Asa, who exhibits a disturbing personality disorder linked to his father, Ephraim Waite, played by Bruce Davison. As Elizabeth delves deeper, she uncovers a supernatural conspiracy involving body possession and dark rituals. The film blends elements of eroticism, psychological horror, and dark humor, reminiscent of 80s horror cinema, where we got Reanimator and From Beyond. The narrative progresses in 3 acts. The first act establishes Elizabeth's controlled life, her personal prowess, and her interactions with Asa, which escalate from intrigue to obsession. In the second act, Asa's possession takes center stage, and Elizabeth loses control over her body and life. This act delves into psychological and physical horror. The final act sees Elizabeth fighting to reclaim her identity, with the film escalating into a visceral blend of body horror, psychological torment, and moral ambiguity. And in all 3, the narrative feels somewhat disjointed. But this may be by design, given that Lovecraft's work often places us in protagonist viewpoints who have fractured and splintering mental states. I'm not sure if it was the performances or the way that this film particularly explores the narrative, but I found it hard to stay focused on. I couldn't keep myself engaged, despite nearly seeing Heather Graham's tatas numerous times. The film's exploration of body possession serves as an allegory for the fragility of identity. The violation of Elizabeth's physical anatomy reflects a deeper psychological terror of losing one's selfhood. Elizabeth's growing fixation on Asa reveals her vulnerabilities and suppressed desires, making the possession both literal and somehow metaphorical. Furthermore, her descent into madness echoes Lovecraftian themes of the human mind's incapacity to grasp the incomprehensible. The more she understands, the less grounded in reality she becomes. The film critiques the imbalance of power in personal and professional relationships, using supernatural possession as an extreme manifestation of exploitation and dominance. Lynch's direction aims to be a tribute to the 80s Lovecraftian horror, balancing camp and psychological depth. The film's pacing ensures a steady buildup of tension, culminating in what is supposed to be a chaotic yet satisfying climax. I personally feel that the camp pushes too far, making everything feel far more comedic than necessary. The film employs a rich color palette, which I think was supposed to be reminiscent of Reanimator and other 80s horror classics, but it's a very bright fucking film that kind of makes you feel like you're watching a rom-com rather than a horror movie. Tight close-ups during possession scenes emphasize the character's psychological turmoil, while wide shots during moments of terror highlight the character's isolation. The score does blend eerie ambient tones with sudden jolts, highlighting the sense of unease throughout. The sound design, particularly during possession sequences, uses distorted whispers and guttural sounds to evoke dread. However, I think it's ultimately forgettable in the grand scheme of film scores. Some plot elements, particularly the body-swapping mechanics, lack detailed explanation, which may leave viewers a little confused. The film's pacing does occasionally drag in the second act, as it leans heavily on atmospheric buildup. The erotic elements, while thematically relevant, might alienate some audiences due to their explicit nature. For me, I'll give Suitable Flesh that it is a bold and stylish entry into the Lovecraftian horror canon. It combines psychological depth with visceral thrills. However, it falls flat as a horror film for me. It doesn't leave any sort of lasting impact, the way the films that it's attempting to emulate do, and the performances come off as far too campy to be really enjoyable. This was a film that I wanted more from, but sadly, it's just another that left me staring into the void. Well, friends, that's gonna be all for now. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a terrible film, but it just wasn't the cosmic horror that I was hoping for. At least, not in the way that I was hoping. I've added a link below on where you can get a copy if you want to add this to your collection. If you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe for more content, and if you have any suggestions on films you'd like to see me cover, let me know in the comments. If you want to help support this channel, please come find us on Patreon. Every little bit helps us grow. Until next time, stay safe, avoid body-swapping cosmic entities, and as always, thanks for watching.